Club Express, adding service requests for villages. A core function of villages is managing member services and the providers who provide those services to its members. Services are organized into categories, and each service is provided through service providers who can be contractors, member volunteers, or non-member volunteers. The member services function is used to add, edit, and manage member service requests. We're already logged into one of our demo sites as an administrator. To manage the service requests, go to the Control Panel, click on the Services tab, then click Member Services. The Overview and Member Services for Villages companion video explains the screen in detail, including how to filter the display and show only the results that you need to work with. Below the search panel are several buttons that you use to create service requests. The Transportation Request button is used to create a new service request for a transportation service to be fulfilled by a volunteer. The Member's Home Request button creates a new service request to be fulfilled by a volunteer in the member's home. The Contractor Referral button creates a new contractor referral where members are provided with the names of one or more vetted contractors who can help them with their needs, usually for a fee. And the Office Time Request button creates an office time request where a volunteer, who is either a member or non-member, helps the village itself rather than a specific member. This video focuses on adding the two most common types of member services: transportation requests and members' home requests. Related items such as contractor referrals, office time requests, as well as the Find a Contractor and the Be a Volunteer/Contractor modules are discussed in the Advanced Service Request Features for Villages video. Click the Transportation Request button to create a new transportation request. This is a service request specifically for moving a member from one location, usually his or her home, to another, and optionally back again, also called a round trip. Select the requesting member by clicking the Select link. When you've selected a member, the screen refreshes to show the member's address and contact information. If special instructions have been defined for this member, these will also be filled into the field lower down on the form. Also, if a staff alert field has been defined, and if there's a value in the field for the selected member, a red alert icon will appear. Click it to display a pop-up screen showing the alert information. You can click the Remove link to remove the selected member, and there's a link to view the history of this member's service requests. Next, you specify the requested dates and times. Click on the calendar icon to select the date. In the time fields, you can enter any time, for example, 10:23 a.m., or click the clock icons to see a pop-up list of predefined times, and these are based on intervals configured in the Service Options screen. Click Yes for Is Date Time Flexible if the volunteer can work with a member to adjust the date and time. This may allow more volunteers to be interested in signing up for this service request. Use the short description field to describe the service that's going to be provided, including specific names if necessary. You can enter a maximum of 250 characters, and a counter shows how many characters are left. Next, specify the service category and service. If there's only one transportation category configured, it will already be selected. If there's more than one, select the appropriate one from the drop-down list. When you select a service category, the list of transportation-related services changes dynamically to show only those services in that category. Then select a service from this list. If the Volunteer Self-Sign-Up, also called VSS, module is enabled, and if the specified service is eligible for self-sign-up, a Display for Self-Sign-Up field is displayed. Check Yes if you want the service request to appear on the VSS list, or No if it should not appear and will instead be assigned by a village staff member. Specify the starting location for this request. For most requests, this will likely be the member's home. For destination, you can click the Select link to select the standard location from a pop-up list. This is convenient for often accessed locations. For villages with a long list of standard destinations, a search function allows you to limit the list. Values entered into the search box will be found anywhere in the destination name. Highlight a name and click the Select button to select it. When back on the main form, the details of the location are displayed under the field. You can click Remove to remove a standard location. Alternatively, if a standard location has not been specified, you can type anything into the destination field. For example, you might enter something like Specialist, see address in the notes into this field, and put the actual address in the Special Instructions field. Then specify whether this is a one-way or a round trip in the duration field. The system supports multiple service providers linked to each service request. While you're scheduling and specifying the service request, you might be talking to multiple volunteers, only one of whom will eventually be matched. Some service requests require more than one volunteer, such as a driver to take a member with a kidney failure to a hospital for dialysis and another driver to return the member to her home a few hours later. Click the Add Service Providers button to add one or more service providers to the request. For a service request, by default, the system will check the Volunteers option. For an information referral, by default, the system will check the Contractors option. Initially, the Most Likely Available option is checked. If you don't see enough volunteers, or if your initial attempts to match a volunteer with this request don't pan out, you can check Backup Might Be Available, or even the Call Me If Really Desperate options. As a last resort, or for staff coordinator who really knows her volunteers, check the Show All Visible option to ignore all the availability definitions and show all service providers even if they don't explicitly provide this service. Check the Fully Vetted option to limit the service providers shown to only those who are fully vetted. For hub and spoke villages, a metro area filter is also available. It will initially be filtered based on the member's metro area to show only service providers in the same metro area. You can change the metro area filter if you're not finding the right providers, or if you know that the member lives on or near a metro area boundary and providers in the neighboring metro area might also be available. Note that the Show All Visible option still respects the metro area filter for hub and spoke villages. For all service providers listed, the system shows their name, type, and contact information, including the preferred contact method. You'll also see their last and next service dates, whether they are fully vetted, and their average rating for all services for which a rating was recorded. If there are many matching service providers, the grid panel can be scrolled. Click the provider's name to see a pop-up screen with their contact information. Click the History icon to see a pop-up screen showing that provider's history. Click the Notes icon to see a screen where you can view or write notes about this service provider. This is the same notes screen available in the Member Manager for a member, or as a text box in the non-member Add Edit screen. Click the Edit icon for a non-member volunteer or a contractor to update their contact information. To add providers to a service request, check one or more boxes in the leftmost column and then click the Select button. You can also click the Check All or Uncheck All options, or click Cancel to close the dialog without selecting any providers. Note that service providers cannot be added twice. When a service provider has already been added to a service, he or she will no longer appear in the selection screen. If you know the name of a service provider that you want to add to a request, click the Quick Add One Provider button. You'll see a standard Club Express dialog allowing you to search for a provider by name and to select one person from the list. When you have selected one or more service providers to link to the service request, click the small double arrow symbol next to the provider's name to see their contact information. Click the symbol again to close this panel. There are several icons available in the Actions column. Delete removes this service provider from the list. Edit lets you change contact and other information for this non-member service provider. You can view the history of services provided, including upcoming services. You can track the general availability for each day in general time ranges. And the vacation icon lets you track specific dates in which this provider is not available. For example, a college student who has exams or is out of town during breaks. Each provider linked to a service has a status code from one of the following values. Contact by phone may be selected when you first add a provider to the list based on his or her preferred contact method. Contact by email may be selected when you first add a provider to the list, again based on his or her preferred contact method. When you click on the Send Requests button, emails are sent to every provider with this status. Select the Called option after you have called a provider, but you didn't leave a message. Select the Emailed option after you have emailed a provider. This option is also selected automatically by the system when you click the Send Request button for all providers to whom an email was sent. Select Left Message 1 if you called and left a message for a provider. Select Left Message 2 if you called and left a second message for the provider. Will Call Back is for when you called and spoke to a provider who said that he or she will call you back. Select Not Available if the provider told you or emailed you that he or she was not available at this time. Select the Available option if the provider told you or emailed you that he or she was available for the request. Choose Selected when you've chosen one or more service providers to fulfill this request. When you click the Send Confirmations button, confirmation emails will be sent to every provider with this status, regardless of their preferred contact method. Once you have chosen one or more providers to fulfill this request, change the others to Not Needed if you want to notify them. If you don't need to notify them, you can simply delete them. When you click the Send Not Needed button, an email telling providers that their services are no longer needed for this request will be sent to everyone with the Not Needed status, and then this status will be set. And select Cancel for a selected provider if the request was canceled or modified and their services are no longer required. For example, you might have originally needed 2 volunteers, but now you need only 1. The Staff Notes field is used to write brief notes about your contact with each service provider. For example, perhaps someone is only available if the time request can be changed up or down. Also, when changes are made to a service provider's status or when an email is sent to that service provider, the Staff Notes is automatically updated with a date timestamp, an indication of what change has been made, and the administrator's name who made the change. These automated notes are added at the top of the Staff Notes field so that the most recent change appears first. There are several action buttons that apply to the providers in the list. The Send Request button sends an email to every provider with the status of Contact by Email. The email provides the details of the request and asks for a response. Once the email has been sent, their status is automatically changed to Emailed. Note that providers with the status of Contact by Phone need to be handled one at a time with a phone call. Click the Send Confirmations button to send the confirmation email to one or more providers with the status of Selected. This email can be sent any number of times as it does not change the status. Note that the system also provides for a reminder email a number of days before the request and another reminder on the day of the request. These are configured on the Service Options page. If this service request is canceled, this button changes to Send Cancellations, and the other buttons are grayed out, allowing you to send cancellation email to the member and the selected service providers. Click the Send Not Needed button to send an email to every provider with the status of Not Needed. This notifies them that their services are not required for this request. Once the email has been sent, status changes to Not Needed Notified. The Special Instructions field is used to enter any special instructions or comments about this service request. This information is included in the confirmation emails to the service provider and member. You can enter a maximum of 1,000 characters, and a counter is there to show you how many characters you have left. Note that if you have defined a Special Instructions additional member data question and linked it to the service module from the Services Options screen, and the question has been answered in the member's additional data, the text from that answer will automatically be inserted in this field whenever a new service request is created for this member. The service request page in this demo village is also making use of an optional custom field. In this case, the field is called Member Assistance Required and has a drop-down list. You can have up to 3 custom fields that display on Service Request page, and these are configured in the Custom Fields option of the Services tab in the control panel. When you enter a date in the follow-up field, an open contact log entry is created to remind you to follow up with the member. This entry is coded as SRF/U to indicate that it came from a service request function versus one coded as CLF/U, which indicates that it came from a contact log function. When in the contact log, if you click Edit for an SRFU entry, the Add Edit Service Request form is displayed. For Village scheduled services, there are 5 status values. Requested means that the service has been set up but has not yet been linked to providers. This status is also used when Village members make the request themselves through the system. Pending means that this service is still being set up and now has been linked to one or more service providers. Confirmed means that this service is confirmed with both the member and the service provider, and this is only available for Village scheduled services. Completed means that this service has been performed. This status may also confirm that the member has been contacted to provide follow-up comments and a rating. And canceled means that the service was scheduled, but the member later called to cancel. It stays in the database for reference purposes. A full delete option is also available on the main screen. When you select this option, a reason field will appear, allowing you to select the reason for the cancellation. When a service request status is changed to canceled, a pop-up dialog will appear allowing admins to send cancellation emails to the requesting members and service providers. Clicking Yes will cancel the request and send the emails. Clicking No will cancel the request without sending emails. When a service provider is selected and the service request is saved, the status will be changed automatically depending on which model is specified in the Service Options screen. If the initial status was requested, it will be changed to pending. If the initial status was pending, it will be changed to confirmed. Finally, select a responsible staffer from the drop-down list. This indicates who is responsible for following up with the member and volunteers to ensure that someone handles the service request and to collect feedback after the fact. This list is populated from the Responsible Staffer option on the main Services and Service Request screen. Click Save to save the service request and return to the Member Services screen, or Cancel to return without saving. When you click the Member's Home Request button, the system allows you to create a service request in the member's home. The screen is very similar to the transportation request, but none of the transportation-related fields will be displayed, simplifying the form that needs to be completed. For example, it has only 2 time fields, and there's no destination field. You select the service category, and then select the service from the list of services for that category. Complete the rest of the form, save it, and the member's home request is added. For both transportation and members' home requests, administrators and coordinators initially log the requests, and then, as providers are selected and confirmed, the requests are edited to reflect the updated statuses and perform the appropriate actions. Please watch the Advanced Service Request Features for Villages video to see how to add contractor referrals, office time requests, and look at the Find a Contractor and Be a Volunteer/Contractor modules. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.